Let's talk about a feeling. It's this deeply personal and often totally unspoken fear that a lot of parents have. It's that moment when you see your child, your baby, sharing this special connection with their nanny or caregiver, and this quiet, really uncomfortable question just pops into your head. So, today we're going to get into the science behind that feeling. And I think what you'll find is that the answer is both way more complex and honestly incredibly reassuring. I mean, you can picture the scene, right? Maybe it was a Tuesday. You walk in the door, you're exhausted from a long day, and you hear it. And it's not just a giggle. It's a full body, just completely unguarded laugh. And for a split second, you realize it's directed at someone else. It's this feeling you might not even have a name for, something you just kind of push down and file away. But then later, maybe it's 2 in the morning when the house is totally quiet, that feeling gets a name. It becomes this raw, direct question. Does my baby love her more than me? It's a question that is just loaded with guilt and fear, and it's one that most of us would never, ever say out loud. But it turns out researchers have a very specific and very honest answer to it. So where do we start? Well, the answer begins by tackling the one core assumption that fuels this whole fear in the first place. You see, developmental psychologists have known for a long time that a child's love, it's just not a zero-sum game. They actually have a name for this gut belief. They call it the ledger theory of love. It's this subconscious idea that your baby's affection is like a finite pie, and every piece they give to the nanny is a piece that's taken away from you. That laugh you heard when you walked in the door? Well, your brain instinctively processes that as evidence that the ledger is tilting in the wrong direction. But let's be really, really clear about this. The idea that love is an expandable resource, that's not just some nice thought. This has been rigorously studied for 4 decades. The scientific consensus is that this whole ledger theory is one of the most thoroughly debunked assumptions in the entire field. It's just not how love works. And we've got the data to back this up. Take a landmark series of studies from the University of Haifa. They looked at infants in kibbutz settings, where professional caregivers handled most of the day-to-day stuff. So what did they find? The babies who were deeply, deeply bonded to their professional caregivers, they showed just as strong an attachment to their parents as babies in single caregiver homes. The bond with the nanny didn't replace the parental bond. It existed right alongside it. But okay, it actually goes even deeper than that. The science gets more specific, and it shows that the attachment a baby forms with a nanny isn't just an echo of the parental bond. They're actually fundamentally different, and they serve 2 completely different functions in the baby's life. So here's the reframe. This is the new way to think about it. Your baby isn't making a choice or picking a favorite. Their sophisticated little nervous system is actually building a support network. They're assembling a team, and you and the nanny, you've been cast in 2 very different but equally important roles. Researchers call this functional differentiation. And by about 9 months, most babies have this totally figured out. The nanny often becomes the playmate, the person associated with fun, new things, stimulation. That's who gets the 3 p.m. laugh. But the parent? You occupy a different and primary position, the safe haven. You are the one they call for when they're sick or scared or totally overwhelmed. You get the 3 a.m. call. Both are signs of a deep, deep bond. They're just not the same bond. Okay, so this brings us to the real heart of the matter. If the parent is the default safe haven, no matter who spends more hours on the daily tasks, what is it that actually cements that primary bond? What is the true currency of attachment? Let's just ask the question directly. What's the one thing, more than anything else, that predicts who the baby will reach for when their whole world feels like it's falling apart? Well, the answer from decades of research is incredibly clear. And for a lot of parents, it's incredibly liberating. It is not about the sheer quantity of time. It's not about who gives more baths or changes more diapers. It's something much, much more specific. So what is it? A landmark study from the University of Cambridge identified the single most predictive variable. They called it emotional availability under distress. And put simply, it's not about who is there the most. It's about who is most fully there when it matters most. And what does that actually look like in real life? Well, it means being the person who catches that little whimper before it becomes a full-blown wail. It means responding to the fear behind the cry, not just trying to stop the crying itself. And it means offering what researchers call co-regulation. Basically, sharing your calm to help them find theirs. That is what encodes you as the primary source of safety in their nervous system. So now that we know the what, we can turn to the how. And this final insight is where all this science becomes really, truly actionable for every parent out there. It's about understanding this profound difference between just being near your child and truly being with them. Think about it this way. You can be physically in the room, that's proximity, but emotionally, you're miles away, right? Scrolling through work emails on your phone. That's what we call distracted presence. Attuned presence, on the other hand, is when you are fully engaged. The phone is down, you're tracking their cues, you're responding to them, and the research is crystal clear. Only one of these actually builds that primary safe haven attachment. And this right here, this might be the most powerful takeaway from this entire explainer. The number is 20. Just 20 minutes of complete, phone-down, fully arrived attention can register more deeply and build more security in a baby's brain than 2 hours of being in the same room but completely distracted. So what does this mean? It means you can let go of the pressure to just rack up more hours at home. The research points us toward a much more achievable and ultimately way more meaningful goal. It's not about the quantity of your time, it's about the quality of your presence. So let's end on this thought. That nanny your baby laughs with so freely, she isn't your competition. She is proof that you chose someone who knows how to love a baby well. The connection they have is real, for sure, but what you have is different. It's foundational. You are not being replaced. You are being trusted with the most critical role of all, being the safe haven. So the final question for all of us is this. Now that you know that your presence is so much more powerful than your proximity, how might you change the way you connect in the time that you do have?